Thank you for tuning into Growing Tech Fast, the condensed podcast in which conversations about growing SaaS startups are had with those who have grown them. I'm joined today by Joseph, who is an expert in marketing for startups. Really great to have you on the podcast today, Joseph. Let's kick things off with an introduction.
Thank you very much. Great to be here. Josef Katz. I've been working in the startup space for a dozen plus years now. I look at myself as a startup marketing guy. I've worked with some successful companies, and I've worked with some companies that have, shall we say, less successful, and everything in between. And so, I really come to the table with, I guess, the strategic approach to putting in an infrastructure for long-term growth.
Great. Yeah, it's absolutely. It's kind of rolling the dice, as it were, with startups. It's that risk first reward, and it's very difficult to predict where that reward is. But Joseph's joined us with a shed load of experience, and we're very lucky to have him on. I actually think that you could be our first marketer on the podcast, which is
oh, that I'm honored.
which is potentially a big weight to carry on your shoulders going into this. But really happy to have you on here, Joseph. What would be great to kick us off, and it's a conversation that I have with a lot of my clients. I help fintech clients build go-to-market teams, and it's when is there a right or perfect point to switch from an outsourced marketing team to an in-house marketing team, Joseph?
So great question. I've worked in fintech, so I could relate to that. You said perfect. So I think in the startup world, there is no perfect.
Yeah.
So it's always a best guess, or putting your best foot forward. I've joined companies very early, so employee number 3 at one company, and we were hybrid, right? We were using internal, myself and whatever resources I were able to pull together, plus external agencies. When you work with external agencies, they can add a lot of value depending on what they're doing and what function they're serving. You have to watch them. I've found, I've walked into lots of companies over the years where they've hired outside consultants or agencies, and no one's managing or watching what they're doing. And they're doing work and they're getting paid for that work, but not necessarily the best work or the right work for where the company needs to go. So really understanding what resources you have to put in place when it comes to managing the marketing function is really important. So I tell people all the time, it doesn't take a rocket science to run certain marketing campaigns. It does take someone who knows what they're doing to do it effectively and drive an ROI.
Sure. And when considering, bringing that marketing team in-house, in your opinion, what is the best area to focus on for startups in regard to the entire marketing function? Where would you say that the most effective?
That's a very broad question. It's going to be really dependent upon what that product or service is all about and who their customers are, where their customers are. I think what's really important is for the senior team, and however that's defined at that company, to understand, okay, we're going to bring in a marketer and we need them to do X, Y, or Z, grow users, acquire leads, get app downloads, accounts created, whatever is right for that business. Does this person know how to do that? Are they going to be able to do it at a cost-effective way, or are they basically going to look at, Facebook's the answer for everything, or whatever the flavor of the day might be, right? So there's a lot of people that, if you're a hammer, everything's a nail. So you really have to approach it with okay, what's the right tool to use for this particular situation, and then put those tools to use in the right way. So I don't think there's a one size fits all. It really, some cases it's going to be Facebook and Instagram marketing, and some is going to be search or natural or content or influencers or what have you. It's really need to understand what the customer acquisition model is and what's the cost per acquisition you're looking for, and lifetime value, and understanding all those metrics are really going to become really important as you build that plan.
Yeah, sure. I think it's exceptionally interesting, and right now where we are at, we didn't actually talk about this, but it's just come to me, Joseph, as we're on the podcast live, and talking about building out that very first marketer. I don't know if you have an opinion on it or sort of thoughts around it, but what do you think Chat GPT is going to do to the marketing world?
So I love that. Chat GPT. I had a whole conversation about this recently with someone. Chat GPT is one element of AI. I think AI as a category is going to have more of an impact than just the Chat GPT, but different jobs are going to evolve. The functions may evolve. I don't personally like if a company's just using auto-generated text as their marketing content. Probably not going to be really successful. Can you get something good? Yes, you probably can get something good. Is it going to drive what you need? Probably not. You're going to need some human intervention there, whether that's editing or fine tuning the queries that go into the Chat GPT. It's not like press a button and out comes the perfect solution. People are going to have to change their skills. Like I was talking about this with the other day with someone else, where jobs are going to change. Just like they did when the internet started, right? And then people's jobs changed, and email marketing became a thing, and social marketing became a thing, and iPhones came out, right? Things changed with the mobile and smart devices. So I don't think it's going to replace necessarily everything once and for all, but it's going to evolve, and things are going to change, and people are going to adapt, and new skills will come up, and smart people who understand how to use the technology well will just thrive and start figuring out ways to do their jobs better and faster.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is really interesting because you can never replace that human touch, or that human intuition, especially when thinking about personalized campaigns. But it really is an interesting model. I've not actually used it yet, so I don't know if you have, Joseph. But
I've played around with some of the tools. The other piece is the AI is still young, right? It's going to continue to evolve and grow. Like right now, getting the right tone and feeling, you can do it to some extent if you know what you're doing and you can do it well. But I've seen poems written in the voice of Shakespeare, right? For example. But you have to know how to ask it for that. You have to know how to do that. Can you describe your tone and voice for your business that you want to communicate with your customers to an AI? Maybe not. Like I'm not sure it's there yet.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't think it is there. Yeah, and if a company is considering dropping a marketing function for AI,
I mean, AI is going to, AI in some variation will be part of the marketing stack at some point. That I don't doubt, right? Whether it's ChatGPT or some other tool within the AI space, just like people now need to use email tools and SMS tools and, CMS tools and CRM tools, that will be another tool in as part of the marketing stack, along with all the other things that us marketers use.
Yeah, well, I think that sort of brings us quite nicely onto the next topic that I wanted to discuss with you, actually, Joseph, and that's around sort of measurables and how you measure the effectiveness of marketing and a marketing team in the startup world. Talk to me about that.
So measuring a campaign as a marketer is usually pretty straightforward. If you set it up correctly, you could track it all the way through and calculate out your ROI, your cost per lead, cost per acquisition, and so on, return on ad spend, whatever that business is using as its metrics. I've seen a lot of people not do that, right? A lot of people just throw money at the wall and say we're marketing. Yes, you're putting advertising and media out in the world. And a good marketer in today's day and age will have all those skills. Will know how to track everything effectively. We'll make sure that the numbers are flowing through into whatever systems they're using. It's that old, I know my marketing's work, half my marketing's working and just not which half. In today's day and age, you should know 90, 95, or more of what's working and what's not. There's always going to be a little noise in the marketing space. The whole attribution conversation will come up. Which is the media that actually drove the conversion. You can get into those conversations, but at the end of the day, marketers should know what's driving conversion and how to throw money at that and reduce where it's not returning that ROI.
Sure. I suppose just to go to the layer below, you spoke about a good marketer should know that 95% of their marketing is effective. In general, when we're talking about, let's say, a SaaS startup who is B2B, how are you actually measuring that?
Well, for B2B marketing, I mean, again, it's going to vary by company, but presumably, sales and sales opportunities are the things you're going to be measuring, right? So how many conversations, how those conversations funnel down through to the sales team to ultimately to conversion. Each company's going to have, 3, 5, 10, whatever number of steps. And each one of those steps can be measured. And you can look at each of those steps by the media that drove the people into those steps. It's not really, in my mind, it's not really that different from any other media, just how far you track it and what the metrics are, right? So in some cases, it's purely cost per lead. In some cases, cost per lead, cost per meeting, cost per demo, cost per sales presentation, cost per acquisition, or whatever, other steps may happen in that. And then understanding, was that a Google search ad? Was that an event marketing effort? Was that a piece of content? Was that natural search? You should all be able to track it. Again, it's never going to be perfect, but you should be able to track it pretty closely to a comfort level where you feel this is accurate and you're going to know what's working. I mean, the worst thing you can do is just look at the top of the funnel, right? And you go, oh, we get lots of leads from this source, but no down funnel conversions. Then boom, you'll just keep spending money poorly. And at the end of the day, you're not going to have moved the needle at the sales side.
Yeah. And have there been times when you've been in business where you've had to pivot massively on a campaign? Yeah.
How about pivoting massively? I've definitely I've joined companies where they were doing things which, in my personal opinion and experience, didn't make a lot of sense, and I, sort of stopped them or changed the course of what we were doing. I remember one company I was working for was a B2B company in the health technology space, and they were going to something like 15 events a year, trade shows, whatever.
Yeah.
They had zero metrics on the effectiveness of those trade shows. And I said, well, let's stop doing all that, right? And so what we did is we consolidated all the money that was being spent, travel, entertainment, food, exhibit hall passes, etc. And we said, okay, we're going to go to these 2 events a year, and we're going to have a plan. And we put together a plan. I actually wrote about this. It's a number of years ago. It's on one of the many blogs I've written. And we just created a campaign around that one event so that at the end of the day, we were able to say, we spent X, we achieved these initiatives, and we got these results. In that particular case, we left that event with, I think, 450 leads that the company was able to continue to nurture for a long time.
Well, I think that's really great. Hearing a sort of a real life story of how you've implemented a change and also measured it as well. It's often hard to measure the effectiveness on a whole of marketing, in the sense that you generate leads for the salesperson, and there isn't really a way to understand how strong the lead is, how weak it is. And also, I suppose you're also, if the salesperson is really great and they close it and that's your lead, that's sort of great.
Right.
But if they're not so good, the question is, is the lead strong or was it? So it's
Yeah,
really, yeah.
that's a fair question, right? Yeah, there is a external influence on performance there for sure. I think that's going to come down to the team's sales team having their own set of metrics and
Mm,
their own set of evaluations that they do. Some are going to be subjective, some can be more, qualitative, but sales and marketing need to work very closely. I know a lot of companies, sales and marketing don't work closely together. Every place I personally have worked, I've either sat with or
mm,
collaborated with or meet with on, regularly the sales team, because I'm spending a company's money to drive a lead to ultimately drive a
hmm.
sale, and I want to understand, okay, are these leads good? Are they bad? What are you hearing? Is it the wrong target? What can we do to work to make this better? It's not you versus me. It's us bringing the whole company a level up, right? Like at the end of the
Exactly.
day, we all succeed if we succeed, and we all fail if one of us fails.
Mm.
So it's all about working really hard together to achieve something bigger.
Yeah, no, definitely, and it is that collaboration between sales and marketing so closely together. Um, so, so obviously, Joseph, we're now at the precipice of potentially an economic downturn. Um, there is talks of a recession, incoming. Whether or not it will come, we don't know yet. But in your experience, from uh, years of marketing, how best can SaaS companies um, use marketing during this time?
That's a good question, and I think one that too many companies don't ask. They just react. Bad news. We're going to cut staff. We're going to cut spending. We're going
Mm,
to cut. Versus grow. How are we going to grow in a economic downturn is probably a better question than how are we going to restrict. So I think lots of ways to look at this. Again, nuances are going to be very different, but maybe you focus more on customer retention. Maybe you focus
hmm.
more on word of mouth marketing and referrals and reviews and things that don't cost a lot of money out of pocket. Nurture your email lists a lot more, more carefully. Continue to build on your organic presence in the market. Be selective with where you're spending money for sure, but early in my career, I'll just share a quick story. I was working in
Mm,
a more of a traditional direct response marketing company, and a colleague said we were talking about his business and our business, and I said, "So what's your marketing budget?" He goes, "I don't have a marketing budget." I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "If I am getting an ROI, I'm spending money. When I stop getting an ROI on my marketing, I stop." So his point was really that why would you pull back if you're generating an ROI? Right?
mm,
If every dollar you spend brings in 2, 4, 10, whatever the number is, why would you
yeah.
stop? Even if the economy is not doing great, you're hurting your business at the end of the day, because you're
Mm.
now not fueling it, right? You just shut off the fuel pump to your business by looking at the budget versus looking at the revenue.
Many
So
many companies are so reactive now to the tech giants of
yeah,
Twitter, Meta, Google, that they're seeing so many layoffs that, whoa, we'd be laying off as well. Uh, it,
well, I mean, look, layoffs are going to be inevitable in a downturn, but that doesn't mean the company needs to stop all their growth.
mm,
You can still grow your business during a downturn. I've worked with companies during downturns where when the downturn's over, they are far out ahead of all their competition, because their competition also is constricting, right? So all of a sudden, everyone's constricting except for you. Well, then you're going to be ahead, right? You're grabbing market share. You're thinking bigger. You're thinking differently. You're not saying go spend $10,000 a day on Google search ads or whatever you're doing, but don't don't cut off the head, right, to spite the
mm,
body. So like you want to keep growing. You want to think creatively. You want to look at the opportunities maybe a little differently. One of the business I worked with years ago, half of our business came from word of mouth and referrals, right? So
mm,
can you take your business from maybe it's at 5% or 10% now. Can you double that? Can you triple that? Like, what can you do? Like, that's an easy thing to work on, right? If you have a great product and a great service. Yeah, I'm not saying it's easy in the sense that you're going to see the return right away, but that's from a marketing standpoint, like you can put those efforts in place relatively easily.
Yeah.
And there's others, right? Like I mentioned, the email, easy to keep pushing out emails, get better, talk about AI, probably don't use your AI to write those emails.
No.
So it's just, understanding what performance marketing is all about. It's like, what performs, what's driving the return. Don't stop things that are working.
Absolutely. If it's not broke, don't fix it, basically.
But there are companies, again, I understand, like, corporate structures are what they are, and the budgets just get cut and everyone just says, okay, 20% off the top, boom.
Yeah.
So, sometimes that makes sense. Sometimes, you could have just lost 80% of your business because you cut the wrong thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Joseph, I think that's an excellent place to sort of wrap things up with some great advice going into the economic downturn. I'd love just if you want to leave our listeners with one thought about building and growing a marketing team in the SaaS world, that would be really great.
Yeah, I think the most important thing, again, coming from the marketer's point of view, is find the right person and then get out of their way. If they know what they're doing, your business is going to grow. If you try to micromanage them or keep constraints on what they're able to do, then don't hire them. Like, you want someone who you're going to drive your business, let them drive the business. Just give them the guardrails. You have this much to spend, you have this many OKRs you have to hit and achieve, and then just get out of the way. And, they'll let you know if they need help or if they're having a problem.
Great. Hire and genuinely give autonomy and responsibility to that person.
If you hire the right people, yeah.
Brilliant. Well, Joseph, thanks so much for coming on. It's been a real pleasure to speak to you. Some fascinating insights into building first marketing teams, measuring successes, and also some great advice for companies going into this crazy year ahead of us.
I appreciate you having me on, Joseph. It was great to chat with you, and here to help if I can.
Thank you so much. Well, thanks very much for listening. This is Growing Tech Fast with Joe Champion Williams and Josef Katz.